Mitchell. When I was in pharmacy school, I was actually in my 4th year on rotations in Winston-Salem. My mom posted a Facebook post one morning about 5 a.m. while I was getting ready, and it said, "I know of a child that needs a kidney. If you have type O blood and you would be willing to get tested for this child, let me know." And me being spontaneous, and I'd never really thought about that before. I'd always donated blood and been on a bone marrow registry, but I'd never thought about living organ donation. I knew nothing about it, and within 3 seconds I decided I'm going to get tested. I had no idea what that meant. So I contacted my mom, who got me in contact with the people, and actually got tested that day. I thought that I was turning my paperwork in or maybe learning a little bit more of the process, but the next thing I knew, I was in a CT scanner, having an EKG done, some tubes of blood, a urine sample. That was it. My testing was done within 1 day, so I didn't really have a lot of time to process, and I also hadn't told my husband that I'd agreed to this yet or agreed to get tested. He wasn't as ready to jump on board as I was with this. He obviously had concerns. What does this mean? What does it mean for your health in the future? And I hadn't done a lot of research myself, but being in the healthcare field, I knew a little bit about it, but not enough to say that I was confident that nothing would happen or I would have no long-term effects from this. So it took me a while to convince him, and doing some research and talking with him to make sure that he was okay with the process also. During that testing process, there's a couple weeks of wait where you don't hear anything. By that point, I was so, I guess, married to the idea that this was going to happen. I think I would have been heartbroken if it didn't happen at that point. And after a couple weeks, we got the preliminary results back that things were looking good. And after that, said it was a match. So we started gearing up for the process, and at the time, Marshall was on dialysis, so he had already crossed that bridge, and we had a little bit of time to play with if we needed to with scheduling. So I graduated from pharmacy school about 2 months later, and we planned the procedure for right after that. So while most of my peers were studying for their boards or getting ready to test, I was gearing up for this procedure, and was excited about it. I think the one thing that people don't know a lot of times is just what is involved in the process, and what does it mean that you're testing, and what exactly is the procedure like, and what are the long-term appointments or effects on your body and process. So after the testing, we scheduled the procedure, and then I was admitted the day before the procedure, where they did some lab work, and I received fluids overnight. Pretty benign there. Next morning, they took me to surgery. I think my surgery was about maybe 4 hours or so. They did my procedure and then had Marshall in the next room ready to transplant the kidney over. And his procedure started maybe 2 hours after mine to give them time to get the kidney removed. By the time I came out of surgery and was waking up, they said Marshall was already producing urine. So that was really awesome to hear and know that it was a success that soon. After the surgery, I went straight up to my room. Being the pharmacist and the bad patient, I refused all of the pain meds and just took Tylenol, and honestly, that was enough for me. I felt like I had done 1,000 crunches and was just sore. Probably about 2 weeks later, I was walking laps in the neighborhood, going to the mall, and pretty much any other abdominal surgery, you're going to be sore for a little while, but the swelling and the bloating went down pretty quickly. And as far as incisions, I know different surgeons have different techniques. Mine was all laparoscopic with one large incision about 5 inches, kind of like a C-section scar. And that was just for hand assisted, so that they could actually pull the organ out from that space. But within 4 or 5 weeks, full recovery, back to exercising. At that point, I was starting up my pharmacy residency, went back to work with no problems. As far as follow-up visits, I did follow up frequently within the first year to 2 years, and after that, I'm not even seeing a nephrologist right now for follow-up. Just get my yearly labs at my regular doctor for my physical, and my kidney function now versus my kidney function when I started is about the same, which is really cool. So my one kidney is kind of a super kidney now and took over for the work of two. One thing that I learned in the process when I was getting tested was if a donor needs a kidney in the future, that they go to the top of the wait list. That wasn't something that I was aware of at the time. Some of the questions that I get from people that are just intrigued by the process is, number one, how did I get connected to someone? For me, it was an indirect connection through my mom and a family that she knew through the police department. And I think a lot of times that's how it happens. It's word of mouth, and someone knows an acquaintance who knows someone, and you can get connected that way. I know another way you can get connected is just an anonymous donation, or sometimes a chain of donations. And I may not be a match for you, but this person is a match for you, and that person will donate to the next person who donates to the next person, and that's really neat. Other questions that I get are, what does that mean if someone in your family needs a kidney in the future and you're not able to donate? Well, it's simple. I wouldn't be able to donate, but I hope that someone is inspired by my story who would step up to the plate if that was needed for my family.